All right, everybody, I'm going to do a little bit of a quick review here on a Zoom H6 interface. What do they call it? Handy recorder interface that I bought not too long ago. I'm using the mics on this right now for this review. I bought it. Well, actually, I went to buy the H5N, which they didn't have, even though they said they had it, and that was Guitar Center. And the H5N I think had actual effects like chorus and reverb and that kind of thing. This one doesn't, but it's a little higher grade in some other areas. It is 6 in, 2 out as a multi-track recorder to a computer. It is 6 inputs to an internal multi-track, which you can then mix the 6 different inputs. It is 6 inputs and 2 out to a USB multi-track recorder on your computer, with 2 coming back out. What's hard to understand sometimes is that when you use the computer, you only got 2 coming back to the device, back out, return to 2 channels, or stereo channel really, and 6 microphone inputs. When you put it in, there's like a multi-track mode, you have 6 separate inputs into the computer, not just a stereo mix, with the 2 returning outputs from the computer. If you there's a stereo mode where you use these 6 and you can mix it on the device itself to stereo, and it's a stereo in with your 6 being mixed to stereo from the device, and 2 back out. So that's how it works in a multi-track mode. Now I got it for mobile musical production. It's clearly meant to work with video recorders on site, which I'm sure it'll be great for. But in many cases that can be live recording of musical acts. And I use it in conjunction with video too, because I perform live with video and audio being put together and then actually edited later. So it's kind of, I use its purposes more for the musical end, but my musical end includes those things. So what I've got going here is this is the 2 in, 2 out. So it's 6 inputs again, but only 2 into the computer and 2 out. And I'm recording on QuickTime on my Apple computer, and there's a interesting caveat here. But it's something I do use it for frequently. And what I've got, well, let me give you the caveat here. I noticed something. If I put it in 6 multi-track mode, which means that the computer itself can use software that can access 6 different separate inputs. So you could have discrete 6 inputs into Logic Pro or Pro Tools or whatever. But what I noticed is when I use it as a stereo recording into QuickTime, when it's in that 6 discrete recordable channels modes, it seems to just do like an alternating left and right. So I was recording a simple single microphone in, and that microphone was on just one channel, the right channel. So it's like left-right pairs, and they don't mix together. And any mixing functions on the device itself don't remix it that way. So it ends up being a left-right recorder with no stereo merging. You see what I mean? No stereo mixing. So if you have one mic, if you're going to do that and you have one independent mic, you really can't put it to both channels that way. So that's that. And I also noticed that I had to use the QuickTime has a couple options into what level of quality you can do, and it's like high or maximum. Well, it wouldn't work on the maximum. and I guess I'm going to assume, I don't know what that's a problem of. I don't know if there's if there's a bit rate problem or something. I think this is capable of 9624. I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm not positive it's passing. I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure it's passing 24 bits at a lower, at the lower kilohertz sampling frequencies, and that might be the issue because I think that my computer was expecting 24 bits. So that could be the issue. It's something I'll have to look in, or you will have to look into. And so, it's got, they call them effects. Most people think of effects as chorus and reverb and stuff like that, but it's got compression, and it's got a low cut frequency setting on each channel, and it's got a 20 dB pad for each. Actually, not for the two stereo mics in, but there are four of them with 20 dB pads. It comes with two microphone attachments, and the one I'm using here is the XY sort of attachment, which is good for stereo field recording. I think the other one is a middle side one, which I haven't used. Without going through every piece of it, it has this kind of menu and select system, and it has two different things. One goes up to the menu, and then the other is a toggle switch, which you also have to be able to push in to activate settings. So you go up and down in the thing, and then there's a setting you want to select, you have to push that in and then scroll to it. And it's the toggle switch, which you have to push in as well, is a little bit small. It's not, it can be a little bit hard to really always do accurately, especially if you're going to be using it in a live situation in low light or something like that. But it is what it is in that regard. That's one criticism I have of it. So I'm going to go back up to this. Obviously, it's a recorder itself, and it records in more than one format. I think at least WAV and MP3 options. And it has a middle side decoder for a middle side mic too. So those are other features that lots of people are interested in. It's making the phantom power seems to have a considerable amount of noise in it. Now, I've only used one mic with it. I've got one set up here. I'm just using it as a far field microphone. It's got a lot of noise, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this. I'm going to turn off that phantom microphone. Phantom power. There it goes. Pretty strong buzz going on there. So I don't know if it's a grounding issue or anything like that, but it's got phantom power in it, so that's pretty darn good. And you can even set variable voltages, 12, 24, and 48, that's pretty amazing actually. So that's a good feature, but it seems to be noisy to me in that regard. But in terms of the microphone preamps, I've been very happy with it in the capacity I've used it in. What I've used a lot is the XY microphones here for field recording in combination with other inputs, and they're pretty good. I think this device, it cost me $300 something, something in that range. I don't recall the exact price, $350 maybe, $340. So I'm not expecting with all the features, I'm not expecting the mics to be the top mics in the world or anything like that. But they're pretty good. They're not bull crap. You can use them for pretty decent recording. So it's not, they're not dogs. You can pay a lot of money for decent mics, and these aren't too bad. So for what you get, it's not bad at all. I noticed some problems at times when I have used the USB, and swapping USB cables seemed to work. I was getting you know, pops and cracks, and it wasn't clipping. It was somehow not cutting the mustard and getting in and out. And I changed cables, and that solved the problem. So I don't know why there is some variation from cable to cable. You know, we've gone through USB 2, USB 3, USB 1. I don't think I have any USB 1 cables, and I think this is USB 2, so I don't think that should be the issue. But some of the audio cables have a filter on them, which that may be part of the difference. Maybe there's a little bit of interference going on without the filter. So that could be it, but it's something to consider. The other thing is you know, it runs on battery power, and I'd heard someone say that it's more reliable on battery power. Maybe that's because the USB ports only provide so much power, and they may be insufficient when you're using, say, phantom power and that kind of thing. Because I didn't have this problem I was talking about before I tried using phantom power on it, so it may be causing a little issue there. But I'm not certain about that. What I did do was I tested the batteries it had with it, and they say up to 20 hours using the batteries. Well, I tested them for a few hours. I don't know. Maybe it was 3 or 4. I don't know. But they're deader than a doornail. So it may be something I didn't know about or didn't do. But you know, at this point, the battery life is suspicious, and I don't know how much, whether or not they can supply the correct battery power, or they just don't last nearly as long as they claim, which is often true anyway. All right, so in terms of the compression settings, you don't have any. You can't make any adjustments. You could select several different compression types, from limiting to vocal compression to drum compression to general compression, etc. But you can't change any parameters in them, like how quick the attack is, the ratio, which is a bit of a drawback. But again, you know, you can't put every feature in a small device like this. They work pretty well. The main thing is that a couple of them have extremely high compression, no matter what you do, and then others seem to be almost undetectable. So yeah, you have limited manipulation in that regard. But basically the way I use it, like I said, I think there's 6 or 8 different settings. I use it by using the setting that works best. You know, that would be similar to you know, changing the settings yourself. So comp general, comp vocal, comp drum. Oh god, hear that. Woo! Limiter 2 concert, limiter 1 general, limiter 2 concert, limiter studio. That's everything. Yeah, there's the comp general. You hear that noise coming up on it? Comp vocal. Comp drum, more noise. So the comp general seems to be the biggest compression. The drums is close to the same. The limiters, you shouldn't expect it to do anything unless you hit the limiter. So that's that. Okay, so let's get out of that. All right. So, like I said, I have not used it that much for original recording. I tested it. Like I said, you've got a bunch of different options there, but you have to go into, you have to be in either recorder mode or multitrack computer interface mode, and it doesn't record in the multitrack computer interface mode. This would be one wish. Again, I understand they're trying to make it work for these functions and not overload it, so they have these 2 discrete functions. What I would like is if it could simply record a stereo mix to itself while going into the computer, and that would, you know, something that you could just easily quickly listen to, say if you were just monitoring something after the show or whatever it is, as a backup to the computer recording. And there's another thing that would be really nice, again, understanding that you can only put so many features into it, but because it doesn't have any like chorus or reverb effects in it, what would be nice, Now it has a line out and a headphone out. And then it has the digital output, but the line out and the headphone out are mirroring either the stereo mix to the computer or the 2-channel comeback from the computer. You can solo if you're recording in multi-track mode, but like I said, that I haven't really fiddled with that. What would be really nice if you simply could have one of them as a discrete send. In other words, here's your headphone out. If you could simply assign the line out as a discrete channels, channels 1 and 2, 3, 4, whatever, a sub mix to them, you could use a simple effects send and return. Without that, being able to do that, then you end up in a loop. There's no way to do it without feeding it back into one of these channels and ending up in a loop, a feedback loop, so it won't work. So that's one thing I would like to see. The other thing is obviously it's mountable. I've got it on a little tripod, one of these teeny tripods, and Zoom is making some seem to be live, more oriented towards music mixing, or they look portable, but they seem to be more oriented on music, and I don't think they're mountable like this. I'm not sure, but they are making some a U44, U66, something that seems like similar to this, but they're more, I don't think they have this type of microphone, and they're maybe meant for more directly for musical use. So that's the other kind of option you can get. They're very portable, and but this mounting, being able to mount like that, is a very good idea. Here's another thing I noticed. When I used the pads for a bit, and the pads, the pads decrease, say you got a hot input, they decrease the input by 20 dB. So if you've got something that you can't, even with lower gain, you just can't control, or their peaks are too super high or whatever, and they're just too high, you can put the pad on it. But it not only does it lower the level, it degrades the sound quality highly. So that's the one place where I go fail. Like I said, it's for the money, I'm pretty happy with what I've got, but that's a fail. So I don't know what the issue is with that. The other thing is it has this, you can't see the contrast here properly. It has a little display. It's one of these, it looks like kind of an LCD, and it's got good color contrast and stuff. So in these modern days, they've done much better with these kind of displays, and it is very nice to look at. It is still way too small. If they had some other features in terms of varying it, and the one thing you can do with it is you can have a set it to a VU meter, which it shows VUs for the main buses. I think it's like, I don't recall how it is, left, right, out. I don't recall, but it shows VU meters if you like that sort of look. It's it's something to use, but it's just not that useful. It just seems almost gimmicky. I wish they had better options in terms of different ways to look at that mixer, that middle little mixer thing. And okay, so this also has a remote control. I have not gotten it. It's, again, one of the reasons it would be kind of nice, but one of the reasons I look at it and think it's not going to be useful is because it's real teeny, so in any situation where you're going to be using that remote control and it's going to be useful to you, it's probably going to be maybe lower light and stuff like that. So like you're on location, it's just too teeny to be useful. It's you're going to be fiddling with it and going to lose it easily. So I don't see it as a plus, but maybe some people will. But it does have a remote control option. It's got a little internal speaker, which is crappy speaker, but it doesn't need to be anything other than for if you, let's say you were at a gig place and you had recorded stuff and you don't have, well, even you don't want to, you just want to know that you've got levels and stuff recorded. It'll come, it's a confidence mod, and you can test it and check it out and know that you've got reasonable audio or something's coming through without, that's what it's for, and that's fine. It's usable in that respect as a competence monitor or whatever you want to call it. So I'm trying to think what else. Okay. Oh, the other thing that is a good feature is this this little microphone on top. It has a line input, so you can actually go. I think it might. I don't know if it can take. I thought it was more versatile than just a line input. I'll have to read the manual, but that's what manuals are for. I'm here to tell you some things that you might not think about or issues that might be a problem. I think the headphone amp, it's loud enough, but I think its quality is a little. It's not terrible, but it's not super high end. But again, you know, it's okay. I expected it to be reasonably good, but maybe not as the greatest, and that's what it is. So for $300 and some, it's a good device. And the other thing is I've dropped it once already, and it survived very well. So some people, one of the knocks on Zoom is that they're cheaply made, and I can see that, but it looks like it's got kind of like little bracing things for the knobs, and then it's got this kind of rubber around here. So they seem to have taken that into consideration, and it like I said, I dropped it, and 4 feet, and I don't even see a nick on it. Maybe there is on there, but the coloration helps you not see that too. So it's drop tested. All right, kids, that's my review of the Zoom H6 handy recorder.